Hello everyone. My name is Ragnvalder, also known as Ronnie, and today is a different kind of content, which if you are on my TikTok, you may have seen that I'm going to experiment with posting some Pokemon content. This comes from the decision that I post Norse content on my TikTok, sometimes my Instagram, and my podcast. And there is only so much I can post without oversaturating it and posting the same things over and over again. So I'm going to use this for a more personal channel that you can interact with me in a way other than Norse mythology. Of course, if you still have any questions about Norse mythology, I will happily answer them in the comments, or on my TikTok, or on my Instagram. My link tree will be in my bio. And yeah, it's essentially just a way of me making content that isn't just one thing, so that firstly I don't get burnt out, and secondly I don't deliver you substandard content because I'm already using all the same stuff on my podcast and my TikTok. So today's video is going to be what my gym would be if I had a Pokemon gym. Now, this video is sort of split into two parts. One part of the end is just slightly changed. And that is if I were to become champion instead. So firstly I'll cover my gym, and then I'll cover my champion team, which is very similar, but just higher levels and slightly different moves. So firstly my gym, these would be the gym trainers. It would be the 8th gym, and it would be a dragon type gym. So the gym trainers, you'd have Dragon Tamer Jeremiah. The names are just made up off the top of my head. I had, I guess, a little bit of fun with Jeremiah. I just thought, why not? He'd have a Gabite and a Drampa. I don't want to give him too powerful Pokemon early on, because this is the last gym, and also the levels of this gym are quite high compared to some other final gyms. Like, for instance, my Pokemon are actually, in my team, higher than the Sinnoh Elite Four teams in the beginning. Like, for instance, some of them start off at level 47. To the best of my knowledge. We have a double battle, which is Ace Trainer Richard and Julie. They have a Sliggoo and a Flapple, which will be the first two to go out, and then Gyarados and Charizard, which are an iconic Gen 1 duo of pseudo-dragon types that probably should be dragon types. Charizard gets its dragon typing in one of its Mega Evolutions. Gyarados gets a dark typing for some reason. Jury's out there. And then you have Dragon Tamer Alexander, who is slightly harder to beat because he's the final gym trainer. He has a Dragalge. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I always pronounce it Dragalage, but there's not a second or not a third A. Excuse me. So I always pronounce it Dragalge or Dragalage, but I'll just pronounce it Dragalage. That's level 42, and that is a funky Pokemon. It's got the poison typing. It's always fun. I remember I don't remember the Elite Four woman's name from X and Y, but she had a Dragalage, which always gave me a little bit of trouble. Then there's Dragonair, because I don't want to give him a Dragonite, because that would be a bit excessive, and Kingdra, because Kingdra you can keep it still at a relatively low level and have it. I didn't want to be game breaking, as in breaking the rules of the game with the evolutions. I didn't want to give them evolutions that they couldn't conceivably have at those levels. Like in Victory Road, in Platinum, definitely Platinum, can't remember Diamond and Pearl, there's a Dragon Tamer with a level 47 Garchomp, and Gabite evolves into Garchomp at level 48. So it wouldn't, make sense. I've also limited it in my team to moves that the Pokemon could learn at that level. I'm not going to have any moves that they couldn't feasibly learn. Even though I could put it in a theoretical generation where those moves were available as TM, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to limit myself to the first 8 generations, and just say that this gym exists either in a Gen 8 remake, like a remake that includes Gen 8 Pokemon, or perhaps some remake of a previous game that allows Gen 8 Pokemon, or basically one of those sort of things. It encompasses Pokemon from all 8 generations. Each trainer will give you a colour and a number when you beat them, and the number corresponds to 4 dragon statues at the entrance to the gym. obviously in left to right order. These statues have a white flame coming out of their mouth, and interacting with a statue will cycle through the colours that it can be. There are 5 colours, and 1 colour will not be mentioned, and that is white. And you have to match up the colours to the colours you were given by each trainer. The trainers will not be in the order that the statues are in. So, for instance, it would be 3, 1, 2, 4, or something like that, just as an example. And you don't have to go back each time to light it. You can go back at the end. It doesn't really matter what order you do it. It's probably easier to go back to the beginning each time that you beat a trainer, so that you don't forget what the order is. But it depends on the trainer. Also, there's no cheating it. You have to beat the trainers, otherwise you can't actually change the colour on the statue. Then once you set all the statues to the right colour, there'll be a staircase that opens up in the floor going down to my throne room, and I'll be waiting for you there. Hidden behind me, or not hidden, but behind me is a tapestry filled with dragon-type Pokemon, a myriad, including legendaries and mythical Pokemon. After beating me, you will be allowed to use the TM of Waterfall outside of battle if this is in a generation where HMs are still a thing. But if they're not a thing, then we ignore Waterfall. All Pokemon will obey you because I'm in the 8th gym, I'm the last gym, so all Pokemon traded up at any level will obey you without question. You also get the TM for Dragon Pulse, and you get the Ancient Badge, which is what I've elected to call my badge. I had to make sure there was not an Ancient Badge already, and one of the first things that went in my mind was the Legend Badge, but that already exists. It is Drayden's gym, or Iris's gym, depending on which version you play, in Gen 5, the Opelucid City gym, which is also if you recognise it from the anime, the first slide was the Opelucid gym. Now my team's interesting. I do have 6 Pokemon on it, because I think that last gym leaders should have a team of 6. Just, it doesn't make sense why they don't. They're the final gym leader. They should fight your 6 with, their 6. So my team starts off with a 10% ZYGARDE. Now, I wouldn't have a 50%, obviously, because that wouldn't be fair. That's quite a powerful Pokemon. Definitely not 100%. That's why I haven't had Power Construct as the ability for this. So it's got no held item because it's already a legendary. It's already got, decent stats. It's like 490 is the stat total or something like that. It's Dragon and Ground, which is, again, it's 4 times weak to Ice, which is not the best typing. But it's still a decent Pokemon, especially early on in the game. When in like Sun and Moon, ZYGARDE 10% was actually quite fun to use early on. And then its move would be Bite, Dragon Pulse, 1,000 Arrows, and 1,000 Waves. Those last two are special moves of ZYGARDE, which it actually learns from level 1. So when you actually construct a ZYGARDE 10%, it has those 2 moves on it. And those 2 are quite strong moves. It obviously has Dragon Pulse because that's my signature TM. Not all Pokemon in here learn it, not all Pokemon in here have it. But I've elected to give it to the ones who either would be overpowered using either their preferred special or physical type moves, or I've not given it to Pokemon like my Ace, who is a physical dragon type Pokemon, who I would not want to give Dragon Pulse to, because I'd want him to be as strong as possible. Then we'd have DRUDDIGON at level 46 with a Citrus Berry, just a little bit of health, and it'd be obviously it's just a pure dragon type, and it would have rough skin. So if you make contact with it, you take a little bit of damage. I believe the damage you take is 1/6 of your HP, but don't quote me on that. I probably should have looked that figure up beforehand, but you take a little bit of damage with each time you contact DRUDDIGON. It also will have the moves Dragon Pulse, obviously, Dragon Tail to switch out Pokemon. So you can, if they're, for instance, using an Ice type, if I manage to outspeed with Dragon Tail, you can swap out to a random Pokemon in your party. Originally, I was going to have the ability Sheer Force, but since I gave it Dragon Tail, I didn't want to use Sheer Force because all that ability does is increases physical moves or increases damaging moves, but it reduces or it cancels out any secondary effects of moves. So moves would normally make Pokemon flinch, don't make them flinch, and Dragon Tail would not switch a Pokemon out, to my best of my knowledge. I would also have Iron Head, because that's a contacting move, and Hone Claws to increase its attack and accuracy, especially if this is in generations where evasiveness moves are quite common. Then we have Dracovish. We're at level 47. Dracovish, I think, is actually quite a cool Pokemon, even though it looks very ugly and quite weird. I quite enjoy using it. I enjoyed using it in Sword and Shield because I found it quite a powerhouse, especially when you got it to a high enough level that it learnt Vicious Rend, which unfortunately it won't have in my gym, for it doesn't learn it until level 63. It would have the ability Strong Jaw, which increases the power of biting type moves, like Crunch, Bite, Fire Fang, etc. It would be holding a Roselli Berry, which weakens the attack of a super effective Fairy type attack. And it's a Water and Dragon type, so it's already got the resistance to Ice, so it balances out, meaning it's weak to Fairy and Dragon. Its moves would be Crunch, which is enhanced by Strong Jaw, Ancient Power, which is going to enhance its stats possibly. It has the chance to increase all of its stats by one stage. And it's a Rock type move because it's a Fossil type and also it's a Combat Ice type Pokemon, to try and hopefully take them out early on so they don't combat my ace. Then we have Dragon Pulse, obviously, and Brine, because if it gets hit by a Fairy type move, say for example, even though Brine won't be super effective, the Roselli Berry will take some damage off of the Fairy type move, hopefully getting Dracovish down into the yellow or red area of health, and then Brine doubles damage when you're below a certain threshold of health. So that would be Dracovish, who is actually quite a strong Pokemon, I think, and I think is usually left out of some people's teams because he doesn't really look that nice. And I do agree there, he's not the best looking Pokemon. Then we'd have Turtonator, who I always think looks very funny with his nose. I think, yeah, he's a very funny Pokemon. He was always so annoying in the Battle Royales in Sun and Moon, when he would constantly shell trap, and that harkened back to me, and I thought, I'd want people to feel that same level of annoyance if they're fighting my gym. So he'd have a Rocky Helmet, because if they managed to get through his shell trap, or if he didn't shell trap, he'd damage them anyway, because Rocky Helmet inflicts damage if you contact them, like Rough Skin. It's a Fire and Dragon type, so the Fire typing will help it deal with Ice type Pokemon, because Overheat will be a stab move. It has the ability Shell Armor, and its moves are Shell Trap, which is like a Protect, but it damages you. You have Dragon Pulse, obviously, Iron Defense, which raises its defense by 2 stages, and Overheat, which lowers its special attack, and it is a special attacker, by 2 stages, but it's an 130 power Fire type move, which is quite strong and good for taking out Ice type Pokemon. Then we have Duraludon, level 49. No held item, because it's quite a strong Pokemon on its own, and I didn't want to give it any more overpoweredness, because I own only the 8th gym, I'm not the champion with this one. It has the ability Heavy Metal, which doubles its weight. I'd use a Steel and Dragon with Steel and Dragon type, and its moves would be Dragon Claw, Brick Break, Heavy Slam, which Heavy Slam increases its power based on the weight difference of the 2 Pokemon. And by doubling its weight, you're more likely to get the higher 110 band attack, and Iron Defense to whack up its defense even higher, because it's a strong Pokemon. It's a very defensive Pokemon, and it's beefy, it's bulky. You know, Steel types tend to be, for the most part. And my ace, my favourite Pokemon, Garchomp. What, ages now, for years. And I don't see it changing, ever. It's just, I find him really cool. He's a land shark, and he can sort of turn into like a jet. It's sick. I'm not a big fan of his Mega. If this was in a generation where Megas were a thing, I probably would have him Mega Evolve. But, I don't know, I like the look of normal Garchomp better than his Mega. Even though the axe hands are really cool on his Mega Evolution. And the sort of, almost like a suit with like spikes, like a open like waistcoat or blazer with the spikes. It looks sick on that part, but I don't like the head on Mega Garchomp. It looks odd to me. He would have a Yachi Berry, or Yachi Berry, I don't know how you pronounce it, which weakens the damage of a super effective Ice-type move. He is a Dragon and Ground type, hence why we need the berry to reduce the ice damage, because he's 4 times weak to ice. He'd have the ability Rough Skin, which, as you've previously learned, would deal damage if you make contact to him. And he would have Dragon Rush, Earthquake, Fire Fang, and Swords Dance, making him a formidable opponent. Swords Dance raising your attack by 2 stages, and all the other moves being physical, for he is a physical attacker. Garchomp is also quite a fast Pokemon, and I'd ideally have mine built for speed, so I could at least get 1 hit in before he gets hit, and possibly taken out with a Blizzard, of some kind, or a Ice Beam, which would be crippling. But that is my team for my gym. Now, if I were champion, ZYGARDE would be replaced with Hydreigon at level 64. DRUDDIGON would be replaced with Salamence at level 60. Garchomp would be level 66, and Dragonclaw would be replaced with Outrage. I also contemplated replacing Swords Dance with Stone Edge and giving Garchomp a Rocky Helmet as well as Rough Skin to do the maximum amount of damage we can, but I thought that would probably be a bit too much, even though I'm the champion. That's like a competitive set, which would be unfair, and that would be notoriously hard to beat, considering there's already a Garchomp in Cynthia's Garchomp who's notoriously hard to beat. Turtonator would be level 61, with no changes to his movesets. Duraludon would be level 63, with a possible change, possibly adding the move Metal Burst in exchange for another, but I'm unsure which one I'd change it for, which is why I didn't include that. And DRACOVISH would be level 63 and have Vicious Rend instead of Brine. Now, for the Hydreigon and Salamence, the Hydreigon would have Levitate, it's Dark Dragon type, and it would have the Draco Plate to increase its Dragon type move power by 20%, I think. It would have Dark Pulse, Dragon Rush, and Hyper Beam. I didn't want to give it all special moves, firstly in case there's a Pokemon that sets up so special moves are weakened, or it has higher special defense, and also just because he's a special attacker, I wouldn't want to make it too overpowered. So I gave him Dragon Rush, so he can have that, physical attacking side, which is still a strong move. Dragon Rush is still a very powerful move. I also contemplated putting Dragon Rush on Garchomp, but I prefer Outrage on him. It's, it's a 3-turn move, and it can possibly sweep. If you set up Swords Dance, it could sweep 3 Pokemon. If you got the strength for it. And Salamence would have Intimidate. It's a dragon flying Pokemon, which is also 4 times weak to ice, unfortunately. Citrus Berry for the little bit of health boost if it gets below to the yellow HP or red. It would have Dragon Claw, Zen Headbutt, Air Slash, which is likely to crit, and Outrage. I chose those because most of them are physical moves, apart from Air Slash, and Salamence is a physical attacker. But that is what my gym would be, and / my champion team. Just as the ending here, I will also just give this little caveat of if I were forced to have a champion team which was multi-typed, which more champions are nowadays, it sort of, after Gen 3, I believe, it stopped having champions with monotyped, because we had like Lance. Gen 1, I suppose, had Blue, which was, on like multiple types, but then you had Lance, you have Steven / Wallace, and then you have Cynthia, who is not just a Dragon-type trainer. So my multi-typed champion team would be a Fortress. I'm not going to go over the moves for them, but the Fortress would be there to set up Spikes, Toxic Spikes, and Stealth Rock, and then it would have Explosion. It would also be holding Leftovers, just to be a really annoying Pokemon. And it would have Sturdy. Then I'd have a Sylveon. I would still have Garchomp as my ace, with the same movesets. I'd have a Metagross, which could Mega. So Metagross would be my Mega, but Garchomp would be my ace. Weird, I know. It would probably, it would like to surprise them, like in the middle of the battle, that it would go Mega, and then they'd be waiting. Oh, the GARCHOMP's going to go Mega. Oh no, it's the Metagross. I have a Ditto, because I like to be trolling with people, and Chandelure. That was the last one, because Chandelure can do absolute bits with its special attack, and I probably wouldn't give it the choice specs, because that's a competitive type thing. But I'd probably give it something that increases the power of fire type moves, because I normally have Fire Blast on it, which annihilates if you hit. Or I'd probably have something that increases its accuracy. So that is my multi-type champion team as well. So if you like this video, please make sure to leave a like and a comment down below on any other Pokemon content, any other sort of more Pokemon, like personal content that you'd like to see. Maybe about me or about other sort of games perhaps. And yeah, and just leave a subscribe as well so that you don't miss any future videos. I have been Ragenvalder, also known as Ronnie, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching.